Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the AEW Dynamite review for the 13th of July 2022. Good stuff on the show, bad stuff on the show, mixed bag. Before the show, Chuck and Trent insert promo where they reveal that they finally got managers' licenses. Why do we need to know this? Don't really know. TNT Champion Wardlow defeats Orange Cassidy with Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta. Well, that's why. Anyway. Orange does his hands in pockets deal. Wardlow um, tore the pockets out of his jeans. Wardlow pulls his straps down, and then Cassidy pulls him back up. Wardlow intercepts Orange Punch and catches a tope, but can't control him enough to land the big move. Wardlow has the sense that Danhausen's under the ring and pulled him out. Back in the ring, there we go. Wardlow recovers, takes out Orange Cassidy with an overhead belly-to-belly suplex. After commercial break, Orange Cassidy starts to come back. Chop blocks Wardlow's knee and then goes for the beach break, but Wardlow is too strong. Orange then reverses a powerbomb into a DDT and hits a spinning one to follow up. Wardlow then avoids the Orange Punch for a second time, hits the F10, but Orange is the first person in AEW history to kick out of the move. Dumbest thing I've ever heard. Anyway, Wardlow then calls for the powerbomb symphony. Orange eventually fights out and he nails a Rana and lands a tope and then sends Wardlow into the ring post and brings him back into the ring. Diving DDT from Orange is caught by Wardlow, but then Orange recovers and hits the stunner for the Orange Punch and the beach break for a good near fall. Wardlow then catches another Orange Punch attempt and hits a powerbomb for the win. Decent enough match. I don't agree that Orange Cassidy should be in this position, but I enjoy Orange Cassidy, so I'll forgive it. But at the same time, the TNT Championship needs more seriousness and rehab. We hear that Pac is defending his All Atlantic Championship, taking on Umino at Rev Pro being recapped. Jericho Promo, which is a complete waste of time, comes out alone. He stands in front of the crowd, and he's a living legend, and says that Eddie Kingston's superior. Jericho brings up Kingston's friendships and how he's associating with Kingston always seems to end in disaster, especially for Ruby Soho last week. The barbed wire match, Kingston maybe a mark for Onita and Sabu and Terry Funk, and Jericho was the one who put the first ever Canadian barbed wire match at 22 years old. Jericho thinks people underestimate him because he's not because of his massive accomplishments and movie star good looks. Next week, you won't be able to underestimate Chris Jericho because you'll be facing the Painmaker. Jericho then said that he would be the final fight for Jericho and Kingston saga, and when it's over, Kingston will crawl back into the hole of addiction and depression. He'll never be at Jericho's level. You're not a liar, you're a loser, he says. I'm not a fan of this. Honestly, I think Eddie Kingston deserves better than this Jericho blow-off. After commercial break, Kingston's backstage with Ortiz and Ruby Soho. He pointed out that he'd hurt them and said he wanted the most violent version of Jericho out there next week. Hopefully this leads to Kingston getting the rub. Doubtful. But anyway, interim AEW World Championship Eliminator Jon Moxley defeats Takeshita. Probably the best Japanese wrestler since maybe Muda and Liger in this country. Anyway, go back and forth, shoulder tackles and chops early on. Moxley gets the upper hand for the first time with a lariat, follows up with a pile driver for near fall. They make their way back to the apron. Takeshita takes Moxley out with a German suplex. On the way back to the ring, Moxley levels Takeshita with a boot and maintains control throughout. Takeshita is then busted open. Back from the commercial, Takeshita starts with a comeback and leaping clotheslines. Straight drop brainbuster from Takeshita. Gets a 2 count on Moxley, and he then catches the frog splash in mid-motion. Takeshita then applies a rear naked choke for his trouble. He transitions into a cross-arm breaker, forcing Takeshita to roll to the ropes and force a break. Takeshita then sends Moxley to the floor and hits a Rana and follows up with a great tope to the outside. Frog splash for near fall. Moxley goes for the sleeper. Takeshita turns it into a blue thunder bomb for his trouble. Moxley then blocks the jumping knee and spikes Takeshita with a paradigm shift. He then goes for the Death Rider, but Takeshita flips out of it and hits a German suplex. Bridge into a near fall. Moxley then fights the straightjacket German and hits a Death Rider. Hammer and elbows follow, and a bulldog joke gives Moxley the win. I will say Takeshita is my favorite Japanese athlete right now by far, and he has been treated well here. House of Black promo, they aired a promo with Brody King. Darby Allin ascended for years, but now he's getting mine and taking yours. He attacked Darby at a signing this past weekend. At least they're trying to do innovative angles. Then we go to Christian Cage promo. Varsity Blondes are already in the ring. Griff Garrison dressed to wrestle against Luchasaurus. At least one would think. Christian said that just like Jungle Boy, Brian Pillman Jr. had a father who was a legend, but in Christian's opinion, he's average at best. He thinks Pillman Sr. would be appalled knowing that his lasting contribution to the world is Brian Pillman Jr. Christian said there's something about Griff that annoyed him, but then he realized it's just because he looked like Jungle Boy. Luchasaurus with Christian Cage defeats Griff Garrison with Brian Pillman Jr. Not a fan of this, just in the sense I think they're underusing Garrison, but they do need to get the new Luchasaurus as a heel gimmick over, so I get why they did it. Anyway, Luchasaurus manhandles Garrison and crushes him with a German suplex, beats on him again into the ring to the outside choke slam, followed by Christian telling him to hit one more, gets a squash win. Not a fan of this being a squash. After the match, Luchasaurus continues his attack. Pillman tried to save his partner, but Luchasaurus headbutts him and basically doesn't break after the first time. Daniel Garcia and 2.0 Jericho Appreciation Society backstage, and they're asked about the shark cage next week. They didn't get what they wanted about that, and Garcia said he understood that he's in the cage, he's dangerous. He said he'd tried Yuta during a cheap Garcia invitation, and he would take the pure title at Death by Dishonor. What a waste of Wheeler Yuta to go in there with Garcia. Garcia's just a guy who I don't get the appeal of. Anyway, Hangman Page is backstage, asked about being eliminated from the Battle Royal a couple of weeks ago. John Silver and Alex Shelley will come up and say they are mad, and they challenge House of Black for Rampage, which could be good. Claudio Castagnoli defeats Jake Hager. Claudio hits an uppercut right at the bell and teases a giant swing. Hager escapes and goes to the floor. Takes out Claudio with a clothesline back inside. Claudio counters with a Hager bomb and hits a Tiger fake kick for near fall. Land strikes in the corner, and then Hager turns the tables and does the same thing. Continues to trade offense until Claudio climbs the ropes and Hager cuts him off. Hager bomb gets leading into a commercial. Upon the return, Claudio lands a springboard uppercut and begins his comeback, lands multiple running uppercuts before dropkick and sends Hager to the floor. Then they go with another running uppercut, driving crossbody from Claudio to get the 2 count. Claudio then gives Hager the giant swing and then locks on the sharpshooter, and he has Hager beaten, but signal for 2.0 and then runs down and distracts the official. Distractions enough to allow Hager to hit the big Uranagi for near fall. Hager then goes for an ankle lock, but Claudio continues to win with a back suplex. He then goes for another sharpshooter 2.0, but then hops up at the apron, so Claudio takes him out. Claudio hits the pop-up uppercut and the Ricola bomb for the win. Claudio is still one of my favorite talents anywhere in the world, and it's sad that he lost so many years of his career to WWE. Hook's backstage and then is asked if he's going for the championship considering he's undefeated. He walks away. Don't know when Hook's going to get a real program, but it needs to be soon. Video package recapping Maya Yamashita's victory over Thunder Rosa in Japan. Not a fan of this. Why do we have so many Japanese talents just for the sake of having Japanese talents? Anyway, Rosa and Tori Storm are backstage. She said Yamashita earned a title match, but in the meantime, Thunder Rosa is ready to take on anyone. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter walk up. Britt said that AEW was a disaster without her. Rebel comes in and hits a sandbagging reference, which is a insider reference, which I'm not a fan of here. Anyway, Serena Deeb defeats Anna Jay. Jay hits offense early. Deeb is able to lock on a modified stump puller. Jay then goes for the clean slayer early on, but Deeb breaks out and then drops Jay over the top rope. Deeb follows up with a neckbreaker for near fall. After the break, Jay comes back with running takedowns, suplexes for near fall, then goes to the Queen Slayer, but Deeb catches Jay with a European clutch for a near fall. Deeb then spins Jay around and goes for the deep tox, but Jay fights out and Deeb locks on a submission, inversion leg Nelson type thing, and Jay goes for the escape. Jay then hits a low heel kick, but Deeb cuts her off with a dragon screw. Jay then surprises Deeb with the Queen Slayer for a nice moment, but Deeb is able to stand up and apply the Serenity Lock for the win. After the match, Deeb won't let go of the hold. Mercedes Martinez runs out and tears her face off, basically, and they will go at it for the ROH Women's Championship at the Death by Dishonor pay-per-view. Jade Cargill, Stokely Hathaway, and the baddies are at ringside. Jade said they weren't allowed and weren't afraid of Athena or Chris Statlander and mocked Lila Gray for being an interim baddie. Stokely cooled them down and said Statlander and Athena would be handled on Rampage. Kiera said Layla was never a baddie. Then we go to the Rampage lineup for 7:15. Jonathan Gresham, Lee Moriarty, the Gun Club speaks, and Lucha Brothers versus Private Party. Can't believe Private Party and Lucha Brothers is considered a national television deal. Anyway, AEW 4720, Barbed Wire Everywhere Deathmatch, Kingston and Jericho with Jericho Appreciation Society in a shark cage, Christian and Luchasaurus, Varsity Blondes, Brody King, Darby Allin, Death by Dishonor lineup, Pure Championship Yuta versus Garcia, World Tag Team Champions FTR and the Briscoes, Television Championship Joe and Lethal, and Mercedes Martinez and Serena Deeb. Jay Lethal and company come out to the commentary desk and said they'd embarrass Joe at Death Before Dishonor. Honestly, the ROH thing is built up as bigger than average here. Then we go to Anna Jay is being checked on backstage. Ty Conti shows up and acts sad, but Jay points out that she slammed Soho's hand in the car door last week. Conti said Jay needed to make better choices for her career. Then we go to the main event, which is super emotional, and that is World Tag Team Champions Swerve in Our Glory, Strickland and Lee defeating the Young Bucks, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, and Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs. Too many spots, but I love the ending, so I'll forgive it. At least the Bucks actually put somebody over for once. Rules are 2 in, 1 out. Three-way tags, Young Bucks and Swerve in Our Glory. Wrestled stalemate, Swerve and Nick do a bunch of acrobatics. Nick and Starks end up meeting each other, rope walk, slapping each other, and crouching each other over the top rope at the same time. Matt hits repeated Northern Light suplexes, but fails, and Lee and Hobbs come after them. Behemoth flattened him. Starks and Hobbs get control, and then they work together to beat down Swerve, and then Swerve takes to beating them through the commercial break, but eventually fights off the Bucks and tags off to Lee. Lee then runs over everyone with tackles, and he belts Starks and the Bucks and then goes for the dive. Hobbs and Starks tripped him up, and Nick goes for the tope, but Lee catches him with a powerbomb and then nails his brother. Hobbs tags in, faces off with Lee. They hit tackles and running clotheslines, taking each other down. I actually used to love Mean Guy matches where it looked like power actually meant something. Hobbs hits a frog splash on Lee for near fall. Starks works with Hobbs and hits a Doomsday Cutter for another near fall. Bucks get rid of Starks and Hobbs and starts the stupid super kick party deal on Swerve and Lee, but Lee fires up and he does eventually get taken out by a super kick from Starks. Bucks keeps control. Hobbs comes back in. Bucks then brings the belts into the ring, but Starks stops them. Swerve grabs the title belts and teased attacking Lee, but then runs right into a low blow from Matt. Matt cracks everyone with the belt and covers Swerve with a good near fall. BTE trigger follows, but Starks breaks up the pin at the final second. Lee then intercepts the Meltzer driver and He and Swerve hit the Doomsday. Swerve stomp for a near fall. Hobbs and Starks break it up, and a bunch of moves. Hobbs hits the spine busters on everyone. Starks rolls out. Swerve gets rolled up for 2 count, and then they crush him with a spear for a close near fall. Brandon Cutler distracts the official, but this allows Lee to hit the Bucks with Matt's shoe. Swerves hits the Cubrata off of Lee's chest, which is nuts. Lee then pounced Starks, landing a flip dive onto everyone. Swerve then hits Swerve Stomps on Starks to win the match and the championships. And then there's an emotional promo post-show where Lee basically says he's doing this for a friend who's fighting stage 4 cancer. Love the fact that Lee and Swerve are being used well. Maybe the Bucks will disappear for a while. Probably not. They'll probably steal the belts from FTR at the ROH show, but hey, what can you do? We'll be back with more right after this.